Welcome to Tracto Memo, a channel devoted to preserving the golden memories of rural America. Today, we'll travel back in time to explore 5 used tractors trusted by millions of farmers: the Massey-Harris Pony, Farmall Cub, John Deere Model B, Ford 8N, and Cockshutt 50. Each carries not only specifications, but also stories, sounds, and memories of an era gone by. May I ask you a small favor? Please subscribe to Tracto Memo to help us reach the milestone of 1,000. It will be a great encouragement and ensure you never miss our next nostalgic journeys. Massey-Harris Pony 820. Close your eyes and picture the late 1950s. America's countryside was alive with small dairies, family orchards, and vegetable plots stretching beyond the horizon. In 1957, from the factories of Massey-Harris in Racine, Wisconsin, came a modest little tractor that would become a trusted companion for countless small farms, the Pony 820. It was priced for affordability, and though exact figures aren't clear, it was known as one of the most economical choices of its day. Production ran until 1961, and while not as numerous as the larger Massey machines, the Pony left its mark in gardens and small fields across the Midwest and beyond. Today, collectors and hobby farmers still seek it out, with values depending on condition, often ranging from a few $1,000s to higher for restored examples. Under its red hood beat a Continental N62 engine, a 4-cylinder gasoline power plant producing around 15 horsepower. The engine ran at about 2,000 RPM, giving the tractor just enough strength for tilling soil, pulling a small plow, or powering a mower. A 3-speed transmission carried the load, simple yet reliable. Its fuel tank held close to 8 gallons, more than enough for a long morning in the field. Weighing in at around 2,000 pounds, the Pony was light, compact, and maneuverable, measuring just over 9 feet in length and about 55 inches in width. Drawbar pull wasn't impressive by modern standards, roughly 1,500 pounds, but for market gardens and poultry farms, it was just right. The Pony's greatest gift wasn't raw power. It was intimacy. Farmers remember the gentle hum of its small engine, the soft puffs of smoke rising as it warmed up in the dawnlight. Its narrow front end could slip between rows of corn or beans with ease. The steering felt direct, almost like guiding a trusted horse. And in many ways, that's exactly what it was meant to replace: the dependable farm pony, trading hay for gasoline. When buying one today, there are things to keep in mind. Parts can be scarce, though many Continental engine components are still obtainable through specialty suppliers. Simplicity works in its favor. Repairs are straightforward, often requiring nothing more than basic wrenches and patience. Collectors note to check for cracked blocks, worn clutches, and the condition of the sheet metal, which is harder to replace. But when found in good shape, the Pony 820 remains one of the most approachable tractors for a small farm or homestead. Its legacy lies in the role it played bridging eras. It carried families from horse-drawn furrows into mechanized farming, without overwhelming them with size or cost. Even now, when one sits in a barn corner, painted in that classic Massey red, it feels like an old friend waiting to stretch its legs. And so, with the Massey-Harris Pony 820, our journey begins, rolling slowly across the fields of memory, toward the next machine that shaped America's heartland. Farmall Cub. It is the summer of 1947. The war had ended, and America's farms were shifting into a new rhythm of peace and growth. International Harvester introduced the Farmall Cub that year, the smallest in its Farmall line, built first in Louisville, Kentucky. With a base price of just under $550 in its early years, it was designed to be affordable for small acreage farmers and rural families who needed dependable help but couldn't justify a larger tractor. By the time production ended in 1979, over 245,000 Cubs had rolled off the line, proof of its place as one of the most beloved tractors in rural America. Today, a working Cub often sells between $2,000 and $5,000, while restored or rare versions can command much more. The Farmall Cub carried a C60 engine, a 4-cylinder gasoline motor producing about 9.25 horsepower at the drawbar and 10.4 at the belt. It turned at roughly 1,600 RPM, a gentle speed that added to its longevity. With a 3-speed transmission, the Cub moved at a steady pace, topping out at around 11 mph on the road. Its fuel tank held about 7 gallons, enough for a day of cultivating or mowing. Weighing around 1,500 pounds, it was lighter than many garden tractors of today, standing about 9 feet long and 48 inches wide. Its drawbar pull was close to 1,200 pounds, modest, yet entirely suited to gardens, orchards, and truck patches. What made the Cub shine was its design for row crop work. Its offset engine gave the driver a clear view of the ground directly ahead, a feature called cultivision. This made it a master of weeding, cultivating, and planting straight lines. Attachments were easy to mount, and its nimble size meant it could slip between narrow rows without damaging crops. For many farm families, the Cub wasn't just a machine, it was the difference between hand-hoeing all day and watching a small tractor glide smoothly down the row. The memories of the Cub are vivid, the chugging rhythm of its little engine echoing across a valley, the smell of fresh-turned soil, the sight of children perched on fenders, waving at neighbors. Its simplicity meant that even teenagers learned to drive it safely, making it a fixture not only in fields but also in family stories. For today's buyer, the Cub remains one of the easiest classics to own. Parts are still widely available thanks to its long production run and popularity. Many are simple to repair, with basic tools and a service manual. Things to check include worn final drives, tired clutches, and leaking seals. Yet even with age, most Cubs keep running with little more than care and attention. The legacy of the Farmall Cub is one of accessibility. It opened the door to mechanization for countless small farms and gardens. Even now, when a Cub trundles past at a tractor show, painted in bright red with its offset stance, it draws smiles and nods of recognition. As our journey continues, the Cub carries us down the backroads of memory, toward another classic waiting in the fields, the John Deere Model B. John Deere Model B. Step back to 1935. The Great Depression still lingered, and farmers needed tools that balanced affordability with reliability. John Deere answered with the Model B, a tractor designed for the average farm, smaller than the big Model A, but powerful enough to tackle daily chores. Built in Waterloo, Iowa, the Model B launched at a price around $900 in its earliest years. That was still a serious investment, but one that thousands of families made. By the end of its run in 1952, over 300,000 Model Bs had rolled off the assembly line. Today, depending on condition, a Model B might be found from $2,500 for a working unit to over $10,000 for a carefully restored one. The heart of the Model B was John Deere's legendary 2-cylinder engine, known for its distinctive pop-pop sound. Early versions displaced 149 cubic inches and delivered around 17 horsepower at the drawbar. Later models, especially after 1947, grew to 190 cubic inches, pushing horsepower closer to 28. Rated speeds ranged around 975 RPM, slow by modern standards, but steady and full of torque. Transmission choices varied across the years, from a basic 4-speed to a 6-speed, with top road speeds nearing 12 miles per hour. Fuel capacity sat around 12 gallons, and the tractor tipped the scales at roughly 3,800 pounds. With a drawbar pull between 3,000 and 4,000 pounds, the Model B was no toy, it was a true workhorse for middle-sized farms. What made the Model B iconic wasn't just numbers. It was that sound, a slow heartbeat across the prairie, echoing between barns and fence lines. Farmers could tell a Deere 2-cylinder from miles away, its exhaust popping in a rhythm that matched the pace of rural life. The tractor itself was rugged, with a narrow front for cultivating or a wide front for stability. Its bright green paint and yellow wheels stood out in a time when color on the farm was a rare joy. The Model B was versatile. It could pull two bottom plows, cultivate rows, run belt-driven equipment, or haul wagons. Families used it for threshing oats, grinding feed, or simply pulling sleds through the snow. And with its size, it wasn't intimidating. Many a son or daughter learned their first lessons of machinery behind its big round wheel. For today's collectors, the Model B is one of the most practical vintage tractors to own. Parts remain available, thanks to both Deere's legacy and an active network of enthusiasts. Buyers should watch for worn crankshafts, tired magnetos, and cracked blocks, but most repairs are within the reach of a careful hand. The two-cylinder's simplicity is part of its charm. The legacy of the Model B is endurance. It saw families through hard times and into better ones, its steady rhythm reminding them that progress could be patient. Even now, when one fires up at a show, the crowd quiets for a moment to hear that famous sound. And so, the John Deere Model B joins our journey, its voice carrying us from the plains of Iowa toward another classic, forged in the post-war boom, the Ford 8N. Ford 8N. The year was 1947. America was charging into the post-war boom, and farms were changing fast. From Dearborn, Michigan, came a tractor that would become one of the most famous of all time, the Ford 8N. It followed the success of the earlier 9N and 2N, and brought new features that farmers had long asked for. Its price hovered around $1,400, making it within reach of many families ready to modernize. By the end of its run in 1952, over 500,000 units had been built. Today, the 8N remains everywhere, from working barns to parades, with values ranging from $2,000 for a basic runner to $7,000 or more for restored examples. The Ford 8N carried a 4-cylinder, 119.7 cubic inch gasoline engine, producing about 23 horsepower at the drawbar and 27 at the belt. Rated speed was around 2,000 RPM. It featured a 4-speed transmission, smoother than its predecessors, with top road speeds of about 15 miles per hour. Its 10-gallon fuel tank kept it working through long days. Weighing about 2,800 pounds and measuring just over 10 feet long and 64 inches wide, the 8N was compact yet sturdy. Drawbar pull was around 2,700 pounds, plenty for two bottom plows and most small farm tasks. But what set the 8N apart was innovation. It was the first Ford tractor to offer a true 4-speed gearbox and a redesigned hydraulic system. Its 3-point hitch, inspired by Harry Ferguson's earlier partnership with Ford, gave unmatched versatility. Farmers could hook up plows, discs, mowers, or post-hole diggers with ease. Suddenly, one tractor could do the work of many, and it did so with remarkable reliability. The memories of the 8N are thick with nostalgia. Its gray and red paint scheme became iconic, shining in farmyards across the nation. The steady hum of its engine, the rattle of steel seat springs, and the way it eased into gear all became part of the soundtrack of rural life. Children grew up riding along, clinging to fenders as fathers and mothers tilled fields. The 8N wasn't just a machine, it was a family member, dependable and always ready. For today's buyer, the 8N is still among the easiest tractors to own. Parts are abundant, both original and aftermarket. Manuals are everywhere, and thousands of farmers know them inside and out. When buying, check the hydraulics, rear seals, and brakes. Otherwise, most 8Ns keep running with little fuss. The legacy of the Ford 8N is one of transformation. It made mechanization truly accessible, not just to big landowners but to smallholders as well. Its widespread impact is still felt today. Many homesteads keep one as both a working tractor and a piece of history. And so, with the Ford 8N, our path winds further into the heartland, toward a Canadian-born classic that carried bold ideas of its own, the Cockshutt 50. Cockshutt 50. By the early 1950s, Canadian agriculture was on the rise. Across Ontario, the Cockshutt Plough Company was already known for bold ideas, and in 1953 they introduced a machine that reflected their vision, the Cockshutt 50. Larger than many of its rivals, the 50 was aimed at serious farms yet carried a style and innovation that made it stand out. Its starting price was around $3,000, a hefty sum then, but it came with features ahead of its time. Production ran until 1957, with just over 20,000 units built. Today, the Cockshutt 50 is prized by collectors, often ranging from $5,000 to $15,000 depending on condition. Under its streamlined hood sat a Buda 273 cubic inch, 6-cylinder gasoline engine, producing about 45 horsepower at the drawbar and nearly 50 at the belt. Rated speed was about 1,650 RPM. With a 6-speed transmission, the 50 could travel up to 12 miles per hour. Its fuel tank held around 17 gallons, giving it long days of work in the field. Weighing close to 6,000 pounds and stretching nearly 12 feet in length, it was a commanding presence. Drawbar pull was in the range of 5,500 pounds, more than enough for heavy plowing and field work. The Cockshutt 50's claim to fame was its live power takeoff, PTO. Unlike many competitors, it allowed implements like balers or mowers to keep running even when the tractor stopped. This gave farmers new efficiency, and it set a standard that others would soon follow. Combined with its sleek styling, bright red paint, and strong build, the 50 became a symbol of progress on Canadian and American farms alike. The memories of the 50 are of power and pride. Farmers recall the deep growl of its 6-cylinder, echoing across wide fields. Its long frame and tall stance gave a sense of authority. Children remember riding along on hayrides, the PTO humming as wagons filled with straw. The Cockshutt wasn't just a machine, it was a sign that farming was stepping boldly into the modern age. For today's buyer, the Cockshutt 50 is rarer than the others we've spoken of. Parts can be more challenging, especially engine-specific components. But its durability means many still run, and dedicated clubs keep knowledge alive. Collectors advise checking the PTO, the clutch, and the transmission gears, as replacements may be harder to source. Still, for those who find one, the 50 offers not only utility but also prestige. Its legacy is one of leadership. The Cockshutt 50 showed what a farmer's tractor could be: modern, stylish, and ahead of its peers. And even now, when one rolls into a showground, painted in deep red and gleaming under the sun, it stops people in their tracks. And here our journey comes to rest. From the Pony to the Cub, the Model B to the 8N, and finally to the proud Cockshutt 50, we've traveled the backroads of memory, through machines that carried families, tilled soil, and shaped communities. If you've enjoyed this trip across farm country, I invite you to subscribe, share your own memories in the comments, and join us again for more stories of rural America. Thank you for listening, and may the steady hum of old tractors always remind us of home.